Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Tom Talks. My team have reliably informed me that it's been some 5 months since we last released an episode, and they've threatened to dethrone me if we don't hurry up and get something out there. So I thought, what better way to get you all excited than to have a showroom walk around of this summer's evening. Apologies for the very casual attire, but I'm very much enjoying our English summer, and I hope you all are too. So where do we start with the showroom walk? I think we should start with this phenomenal new arrival, the very first Aston Martin Valkyrie to have ever been offered for sale. This is a car that's recently arrived into stock. It's a brand new left-hand drive example, finished in fantastic colours. It's the most impressive new model car that I have had anything to do with for as long as I can remember. These Valkyries, we are going to do a dedicated Tom Talks episode purely on this car, but I thought we couldn't walk around the showroom today without sharing a few details about it. And we'll have a little sneak preview inside if we can open up. This car, I'm not sure if it reminds me of an LMP1 car. I'm not sure if it reminds me of a spaceship or if it's just a modern art sculpture. Because when you look around this car, it's way more impressive, and it was already seriously impressive when I just heard about the idea from Adrian Newey. It was even more impressive when I started to read about it and see images. But when you see the car up close and personal, it's something like nothing else. And there's no LaFerrari or McLaren P1 or, I mean, dare I even say it, F1. And even, I think, Murray's new car, the T50, sounds phenomenal, sounds so analog. I can't wait to experience it. But on an aesthetic point of view, there is nothing, including that, and even including the AMG 1, that I think comes close to this car. It really is a piece of art. So this is a car that we are going to be talking more about over the next couple of weeks. We're going to do a dedicated episode. We're going to do some driving in the car, and we look forward to sharing more details with you. We also have this Jaguar SS100 3.5 litre that actually we acquired some time ago, and we've returned it to its original colour combination. So the flat black over the red interior. All the work has recently been carried out by Mark Specialist Classic Motor Cars, CMC, in Shropshire. Fantastic company, started by a friend of mine, Peter Newmark. They do the best work when it comes to Jaguar, maybe I would say, probably, if it's E-Type, if it's, anything that's got a Jaguar badge on it, they are absolute experts. But of this era of Jaguar, they are for certain world leaders. Keeping with Jaguar, a XKSS continuation. This is chassis number 774. This is a car that we've actually now sold twice in the last 6 months. We originally sold it 7 months. We originally sold the car around the turn of the year. The client we sold the car to, a really good client and a good friend of the business, who is circa 80 years old. He took delivery, but unfortunately found it probably not for him getting in and out, and the clutch was a little bit heavy for him. So he said, can we resell the car? And we managed to sell it in about, I think it was about 7 minutes. You know, these continuation cars, of which they only built 9, we've now had 5 sales of the 9. We know them really, really well, and we're starting to build up a little bit of a waiting list. So that car is off to its new home sometime very soon. Moving on, DB4 GT. This is a car that we had fully refurbished ourselves through the Aston Martin, the best Aston Martin restorers on the planet, which is Spraytech. The only car today that's presented in pale primrose. There was 2 of them originally built. This is the only one that's currently presented in it, chassis 121. Just a no excuse car, original everything, body, chassis, engine, cylinder head, block, gearbox, even carburetors. That car, we are about an inch away from selling it to 2 different people at the moment, and it's just first come, first served, so watch this space. Aston Martin DB5, this is a car that we've only recently acquired. We acquired it from a client of ours who will remain unnamed in the episode, but he is probably Britain's most successful rock star. You know, a very special client, special car collector. This car has got fantastic provenance, apart from being owned by himself, but the car had 1 owner for the first 30 years of its life, chassis 1926R, was born in Goodwood Green over beige leather interior, fully matching numbers. Since his purchase about 4 years ago, the car's had a bare metal respray. It had its original trim, which some might say was romantic and others might say was just too far gone, replaced with the correct beige Connolly leather interior. So it's as per delivery. We've just recently launched the car for sale for £695,000. We have a lot of interest. I'm actually personally surprised that it didn't sell within the first week of being marketed, but you know, we're very confident that we expect the car to find a new home sometime soon. Other new arrivals, so this is different ends of the spectrum, from something very contemporary like this 488 Pista. Really cool spec, actually. You know, we don't have that many of these cars. My true passion and desire is for more of either the older, very collectible stuff, or the real modern limited edition hyper-stroke supercars. But I just really like the sound of this car. It's done only 600 miles from new. It's in the Rosso 2007 colour, which was, you know, cost an absolute fortune when an optional extra when it was new. It has the optional extra, the different stripes that you could have. This is the most attractive stripe I've seen on a Pista, but you know, colour and design is personal preference, but just a huge specification, from the yellow calipers to the red stripes on the seats to the carbon rear diffuser, the carbon front splitter, the carbon side air nodules. It's just a humongous spec car, 600 miles. We're probably going to be launching her for sale for circa £345,000. Then moving on to a couple of Daytonas. So we've got the right-hand drive Daytona market absolutely cornered. We've got the plexiglass model. So this was one of the very first cars that was ever delivered into the UK. You'll see a few differences on these 2 cars, actually. This one has a wooden steering wheel that you can see through the windscreen, and it has no headrests, where this particular car has a leather steering wheel and has the headrests. Both phenomenal examples, both matching numbers, original engine, original chassis, original body. This particular car, like 99% of other Daytonas that are in the UK, had the gearbox replaced with a correct Daytona gearbox, but it's non-matching number gearbox. When these cars were new, Daytonas were notorious for having some gearbox issues, and Maranello used to just remove the gearboxes, fix them, and put whichever one was ready on the next car. And all the Daytonas in the UK, they've all got mixed match gearboxes, even though they're the correct type. This one has actually got its full matching numbers, engine, gearbox, chassis, body, in its original colour combination of blue metallic Dino, blue Dino metallic over beige leather interior. Both got factory air conditioning from new, which again wasn't a common extra on right-hand drive Daytonas. We have priced this car at £625,000 and we've priced this car at £645,000. This is very freshly restored and was restored by Barkaways, noted mark experts, restoration experts, really good company. Ian does a fantastic job. He's done a really good job on this car. The original colour of this car was actually white and was the only Bianco right-hand drive Daytona Coupe delivered to the UK. And it's too nice and it feels like it might be financial sacrilege to take a car that is so perfectly restored and decide to strip it and repaint it. But I do think returning it to its original colour combination would be fantastic, actually. Moving on to our Ferrari supercars. Here we have a fantastic lineup. We've got the 288 GTO prototype, the ex-Sterling Moss F40. Both of these cars are part of my private collection. Neither one of them I want to sell or anticipate ever selling unless I hit hard times, because both of those are keepers for life. And then we have this fantastic F50. Now, F50s are an interesting one because when they very first was launched back in 1995, I remember people commenting saying, oh, an F50, you know, compare it to an F40, that's a hairdresser's car, that's a poser's car. And I think the type of buyer back then has changed to the type of buyer today, where more people today who are buying this type of car, these Ferrari supercars, hypercars, are more collectors. And when you actually really understand an F50, even though I own an F40, an F50 is a way superior car to drive than an F40. The chassis is a million times better. And then the engine in an F50, it's, you know, people are impressed today by the AMG 1, where they're taking Nico Rosberg's engine from his 2016 championship winning car and they're putting it in a road car. But the engine out of this car is the same engine that was in Gerhard Berger's Ferrari Formula One car. It's the same engine that was in the phenomenal Ferrari 333 SP, the prototype racing car. And then they also put it in the road car, being the F50. And now these cars, being the last manual Ferrari supercar ever produced, having the phenomenal chassis that it's got, it's the only Ferrari supercar that is actually numbered. So without Ferrari, you know, don't want to be upsetting anyone this evening, but their numbers of only 400 Enzos ever being produced, or their numbers of only 499 LaFerraris ever produced, I think might be a little bit dodgy. Where of these cars, there were only 349 F50s ever produced, and they're all numbered. This particular car is chassis number 105775, 7,000 kilometers from new. So perfect. I bought it from a gentleman in Barcelona. It's only a two-owner car. He had owned the car for most of its life. Paintwork-wise, just so original. You can see all the Kevlar weave all throughout the bodywork. We sent the car to Bonini, who, you know, how much we love these guys down in the Modena region. And we said to them that, look, we want you to go properly through it. We don't just want you to tell us that you've done a service on the car or a major service on the car. Because of what I've said to you earlier about the engine being a very special engine, they also need a little bit more maintenance than, say, some other of the Ferrari supercars, such as the F40. They've always suffered from oil leaks. We removed the engine, we removed the gearbox. We went absolutely through every single point on the car, including the electronic dash, including the suspension, and we ended up spending something like 80,000 euros on the service. And I have no doubt today that this car is mechanically the finest restored F50 in the planet, and that is a humongous statement to make, and I am absolutely certain of it. And with regards to any possible F50 that's on the market for sale, these are cars that I live and breathe and know and understand better than you know, a lot of people, I don't want to say anybody else, but this is so original, this car. It's got its original service book. It's even got its original lady scarf that I'd never seen before with an F50, that has all of the F50 symbols, car models over the scarf, spare keys, everything about it ticks all the boxes. We are asking a decent price, but we're asking a decent price for a phenomenal car. So moving on from the F50, that we hope will find a new home somewhere soon. F40 GTO, we've touched on these before. As I say, cars that I never intend on selling, but I've always been told you should never say never. Aston Martin corner, we have our V8 Vantage Oscar India. We've had this car in stock for way too long. Cannot believe it hasn't sold. We're asking now for it around the £300,000 mark. What people are missing, and if we had maybe, a lot of our business isn't really done by showroom visits. People just hear of cars that we have for sale, will, you know, ask us about them, maybe even look at them on our website. Very few people ever travel to visit us to come and look at a car before they buy it. But if they did, and more people saw this car, I'm certain it would have been sold by now, because this is not like every other V8 Vantage that's on the market. This is not a car that's just been resprayed or just been retrimmed. This is a car that's been properly restored, a proper full bare metal, back to the chassis restoration, and to ask £300,000 for it after it's had the RS Williams mechanical engine rebuild, I think is tremendous value for money. Our V8 Vantage Le Mans, lowest mileage one on the planet, up 4.5 litre, 1929, a Bentley. This is a car that had been totally restored by Graham Moss. We spoke about this before. This is the car that the machine for the wreck scene was found, and this is where all the correct wreck scene is produced from the back, on the back of today. I want to show you something else though, actually, moving on from that, because we've touched on some of these cars before. This 599 GTO just arrived into stock. It's actually in our detailing preparation side, and it will be ready for sale in another couple of days. I think one of our head detailers, Marcus, he spent the last 3 or 4 days on it, and it's a beautiful spec car. I'm sure when people even watch this video, I'll be surprised if it even makes it to any form of advertising. But 6,000 miles, UK supplied, right-hand drive, huge spec, only 2 owners from new, the first owner being a very well-known Ferrari collector. It's sat next to a 250 short wheelbase and a competition 275. SF90, this car, very high spec, cost new about £515,000. It's only done 300 miles, 400 miles from new. I actually purchased the car from a gentleman that I raced in the Ginetta series with. We were racing in the last round, and we were chatting about cars, and he said, you know, I've got this SF90, I never really use it because he doesn't have the garage space at home, so it's sat in storage. And then we ended up doing a deal, and we bought it for stock. We're actually offering the car at the moment with £100,000 saving from its cost new price, which seems quite incredible at a time of the world when nearly every contemporary car is selling for premiums. You know, Rolls-Royce Cullinans these days, who would believe that a Cullinan would sell for 30, 40, 50,000 pounds over list? And Lamborghinis and Range Rovers are 50,000 over list. Everything seems to be over list. And then the Ferrari, you know, the fastest production Ferrari ever built is selling for £100,000 under list. This, to me, seems incredible value for money. And we did buy 2 of them actually from 2 business partners. One had done 300 miles, one had done 400 miles. One was a historic Rosso colour, and one was a historic grey colour. And the Rosso one we sold last week, and the grey one is waiting to find a new home. So there's just a few more cars that I want to share with you this evening. I won't bore you with everything because some of the cars we've chatted about before, but this is a recent new acquisition to our 993 collection. So a 97 model year 993 Carrera 2S, finished in ocean blue with the marble grey leather interior, 19,000 miles from new, incredible service history. So now in our 993 collection, we have the Carrera 4 Cabriolet, 993 Carrera 2S, all something that's a little bit special about them, not boring colours or mediocre mileage. Carrera 4S, only 7,000 miles from new. Right-hand drive 993 RS, only 6,000 miles from new. 993 Turbo S, right-hand drive, the only one finished in that colour, ocean jade. So our 993 collection here is ever expanding. So let's see where we are in another 6 or 12 months. We have a final edition Delta Integrale here. This is a car that we've had for sale for probably 6 or 7 weeks. Just a lovely car, not very high mileage at all. It's been properly prepared, ready for sale by the real Lancia experts. 25,000 kilometers. These are a car that seem to be so much in vogue at the moment. You know, this is it's one of those 90s, the 90s childs. That's the people who are after these cars at the moment. A bit like the same as the 993 Porsches or the 355s. You'll see some of the 355s. I've started to register some of our THJ plates on them because we're just not looking to sell those cars for the time being. But a car that I really am excited about and I really want to share with you is this fantastic 300SL Roadster that we've just acquired. So 300SL Roadsters, quick crash course. You have the 1957, 58, 59 cars, which are all drum brakes and steel block. Then in 1960, they introduced the disc brakes on a number of cars. And then later into the production in 62, they introduced the aluminium engine. So the very last cars, of which I think was the last 209, had aluminium engines and disc brakes. Of those 209 cars, that type of development back in 62, an aluminium engine was still relatively new, working with that type of material. So there was lots of engines that were replaced under warranty. So today of those 209 cars, I would say probably 50% at the most retain their matching number status. Now this particular car that we're looking at, this is about as perfect as any car ever gets, because there's no such thing as a perfect car. People go, well, the mileage is a bit high, or the restoration, it hasn't been restored, or it needs restoring, or it's a mediocre restoration, or it's not in its original color combination, its original color is a boring color. You know, there's always something that's wrong. This particular car, when I say total matching numbers, that doesn't mean it still retains its original engine, or it doesn't mean it just retains its original engine. Everything on a 300SL in the German way was numbered. So this car has its original chassis, its original body, its original engine, its original gearbox, its original rear axle, its 2 front axles are both numbered, and it has its original front axles. It even has its original steering box. And the history behind this car was that in 1974 it was packed away into storage with something like 12,000 miles on it. And then it didn't come out of storage until 2013. And in 2014, the car was sent to Kienle. Kienle are noted as being definitely 300SL experts and also Mercedes-Benz experts. They carried out a 4-year restoration for one of their very best clients. The car is refinished today, not just in 100-point Concours condition, but it's also in its original color combination of blue-grey DB166, chassis number 003233. It's got its original ivory-coloured hardtop. its original blue leather interior. Everything about the car is completely correct. It has its original Bosch headlamps. If you look at the gaps and the profiles, you know, I would use this car because I just love jumping in cars and driving them. But this car, whoever buys it should send it to Pebble Beach or Villa d'Este, go and pick up some silverware with it because it is that good. It is so perfect that I have no doubt that wherever it were sent to, not only would it compete, but it would actually perform extremely well, and then go and drive and enjoy it. Because since our purchase, before we brought the car back from Germany, we sent the car to HK Engineering, who, even though I think Kienler are probably the best restorers of 300 SLs, the quality of finish that they turn out is a notch above everybody else. When it comes to the drivability, I think HK Engineering have that title absolutely sewn up. And we sent this car to HK Engineering and said, hey, even though it's fresh from restoration, can you just snag it and iron out any type of teething problems at all? So all of that's been done and ready for its next new custodian. And then just to finish off, we have our Porsche corner, the GT1 that we've covered before. We are really pleased to report that we've now sold the car and it's staying in Europe and it's going to a great home, and we're certain that, actually very excitingly, to be able to say to you that we're going to see it on the racetrack again. We're certain that this car is going to be back on the track, and what a sight to see this car back in action. You know, you've got to remember there's less than 10 customer GT1 race cars on the planet, so to be able to see one on track is a unicorn type of experience these days. But and then this is another new arrival. We're going to end with this car today. We have lots more to share with you over the next few weeks, but this Porsche 918 Spider, a UK supplied car, 2015, humongous spec, liquid metallic paint. And this liquid paint, if you're not familiar with it, they charged you 40,000 euros plus VAT extra when it was new. And I remember looking at the price list thinking, hold on, that silver costs you no money extra, and this silver costs you 40,000 extra. And Jesus, if I was ordering one of those, I would never spend £40,000 on two colours that look virtually the same until you see the cars parked next to each other. And then the liquid metallic paint looks £400,000 better. It's way more desirable today when you're coming to resell the car. People will pay a huge premium for it. The car's only done a little bit over 1,500 miles. UK supplied. It had a factory Martini livery from new, a host of factory optional extras, and we've put the car for sale for £1.3 million. So that's just a quick walk around, a quick taste of some of the fantastic cars that we've got in our inventory at the moment. We've got some other really exciting stuff that we've recently purchased, including a very special Ferrari 275 we're going to share with you in the next few weeks. And over the next, probably our next episode is going to be getting the Valkyrie out on the road, so I cannot wait for that one. Anyway, good to be back, and I hope you all enjoyed it.